Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very, very good morning. And it's even more fantastic now that I'm starting to see familiar faces because I've been lucky enough and privileged enough to be called in to come and be the program director for RMI's women's program. Last year, the year before, we did it under COVID, but we carried it through. It was just as inspiring as it was last year when people started coming out. And today, I'm sure that you're going to walk away not only just inspired, you're going to walk away with some fuel in your tank to carry you through for the rest of the year. And my name is Angie Kumalo, by the way, and it's really great to see all of you here today. And I'm hoping that, we're going to be carrying the rest of the year with the added fuel to race to the finish line, like Claire Vale's racing car. If you have no idea who Claire Vale is, she'll be stepping up to the program and stepping into the podium as well, and then you'll realize what it is that I'm talking about when I say we want as much fuel in our tank as Claire Vale's car so that we can race to the finish line for the rest of 2023. Now, there's usually the roses, but there's always the thorn that he is, and he's always here with us. And he's going to be the person that is going to get the proceedings underway. Mr. Yaki Olivier, it's so great to see you, looking as pretty as usual. And you can get this program started for us, please.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, feeling lonely, but I can spot another two at the table to my left. Always a privilege, always a great honor to be involved in a women's event. Welcoming everybody. I see there's a lot of empty seats, and I trust that some of them are still on their way. We came in and there was quite a bit of traffic outside as well, so it's very uncommon to see that there's so many empty seats. But in any event, we are here and it's a women's event. And, we so often in our industry, which we all love, refer to a male-dominated industry. And that is changing. I think you will agree with me. We've seen women in great positions in our industry, in other sectors of the economy. We see women in the RMI, our staff, that are excelling in what they're doing. And this RMI Women Driving Change event is designed to get more females involved in our business. It is to encourage our female colleagues to get involved, to get the feeling of cohesion, to make a difference, which in an industry which the male counterparts has dominated for so long. I came across a quote, if you like, which might be a bit of against the male side, but in favor of females, and that came from the Iron Lady of the UK. You all remember Margaret Thatcher, the late Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister. And she said at one occasion, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. And isn't that true? The effectiveness, the professional, that warmth that females and women are bringing into boardrooms, into the business world. It's not uncommon anymore to see business owners being females. And the RMI, and where I'm sitting, we are very proud to have so many well-groomed, well-experienced and professional women already involved. And we want to take it to the next level, and I've said it last year as well, and that's why we have these events from time to time. But we will have to take it a little bit further. We will have to go and find them because generally male and female don't know what we're doing. And once people are involved, they stay involved. They want to make a difference. But this event is about women. I'm also proud to say to you and repeat what I've said a year ago. The organization is headed up from a board perspective by 2 female presidents, in Johnny and in Feroz. They're both here. And that it was a big step forward in the past, and that will continue for some time to come. If I look at you, I say to you, welcome to this event, and please become involved, as some of us and some of you are already. It is a great organization, it's a great industry, but we need the females, and we're going to find them, and we're going to walk the path with them, and before we know it, we're going to see a good balance between male and female. So, nice to be here. Good to see all the ladies. I see a lot of red, and I was laughing at Feroz. She says, Feroz, can I say that? She, with her red jacket, she looks like working for Avis. But Avis is also in the motor industry, so if it's Avis, if it's RMI, if it's business, you're all welcome. Good luck for the day, and I wish you well with this conference, and let's take hands and take this industry to the next level over the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yaki. I always enjoy seeing you here, and I'm glad to see there's a few more males in the room with us as well. Now, RMI Women Driving Change is such an apt description for the person that we are going to call up here to inspire us. I remember 10 years ago, I was still working for 5FM at the SABC at that time. It was another Women's Day event, and it was lovely to just be hanging out with a lot of ladies that were doing incredible things in their spaces. They were fully occupying the spaces that they were in. And then I run into this lady called Claire Vale. And we start chatting and everything, and then I start asking her what it is that she does for a living. And then Claire said something I had never encountered before. Claire says she is a car racer, like she races cars. I'm like, what? What do you mean you race cars for a living? And that's exactly what she was doing for a living. And I was so inspired that day because there's nothing as important as seeing someone doing something that you never thought was in the realm of possibility for you as a female, for you as a black woman, whatever it is that you thought excluded you from something. And once you see someone do something that you never thought people like you did, it opens something in you. There was a light bulb in my head to think, wow, there are female car racers in South Africa, and this is what they do for a living. I want her to come to the stage. I wanted to motivate us today. I want her to tell us the story of how she even came about to be doing what it is that she's been doing for as long as she has. She's become a legend in the industry for what she does. And I really think that you will be highly inspired, highly motivated, because she got into this particular industry when I'm sure she was the only woman in the room. And that takes courage, that takes guts, that takes a person who says, I am in this room, you will recognize me, and I will compete to the same levels as you, and I will probably surpass you. And she has done exactly that, and that is what legends are made of. Claire Vale.
Good morning and welcome. Big thank you to the RMI for inviting me here to join you today. Thanks. I always love meeting women who share the same passion that I have for motorsport and for the motor industry in general. Angie was talking about how fast the year's going and how things have gone so fast. And I'm just really sorry that August has already passed us by, because I think August is the best month of the year. It's the one year where we celebrate women and all the things in the world that we are doing every single day and getting very little recognition for most of the time. I think it's important to have our Women's Day and our Women's Month. A lot of men say, well, it's not fair. Why can't we have a Men's Day? But I think it's still, to a great extent, it's still a man's world. And I think we need that one little bit of time to do it, where we can celebrate ourselves. And also, of course, the brave and awesome women who went before, who have paved the way to give us so many more opportunities that we have now. I think one of the first things we should do in this industry, it's such a tough industry and we work so hard, let's give ourselves all a round of applause for making it as far as Wednesday, never mind the end of the year. A lot of people, or some people, think I'm a bit of a trailblazer in the motorsport industry here in South Africa. But in fact, my life would have been so much more difficult if it weren't for some of the awesome women who have gone before me. Locally, of course, we've got Desiree Wilson, who's a South African, and was the first woman to actually race in a Formula One race. And then we've got women, just push the arrow. Okay. Personally, I've been inspired by women such as Michelle Maton, who nearly won the World Rally Championship back in 1982, and she's worked tirelessly with the FIA since then to promote women in motorsport generally. And then there's women like Jutta Kleinschmidt. She won the Dakar Rally, which is, I think most of us watch the Dakar at the end of the year or beginning of the new year. So you can just imagine what a huge achievement that was. And that was back in 2001. And Janet Guthrie, who was the first woman to race at the Indy 500. So I think it's a good time that we all remember, not only in motorsport, but in our industry and in our country, especially the women who've gone before us and led the way. My personal motorsport inspiration has always been my great uncle, John Duff. He's the big tall guy on the right-hand side. He won the 1924 24 hours of Le Mans, driving that Bentley. And if I look at Le Mans nowadays, and the sophistication of the cars and the massive pit crews, it was a huge achievement to win Le Mans back then. That Bentley weighed about 2 tons. I think it barely had brakes. I don't know how they ever stopped them, no ABS. And there were only 2 drivers, and they probably had 3 or 4 people in the pits helping them. So he's a huge inspiration. He also raced at the Indy 500. He held many speed records at Brooklands in the UK. And he was recently inducted into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. So I'm really proud of him, and he's inspired me, I think, a lot to keep going with what I've been doing. When he retired from motorsport, he moved to Los Angeles, and there he used to train Olympic fencers, and he was a stuntman and a stunt double for movie stars like Humphrey Bogart. So yeah, he was quite a character. I've actually been in the motor industry virtually all my life. Although I grew up in a non-motorsport family, I was always crazy about cars, and I spent all my pocket money buying little toy cars and drawing very detailed pictures of cars with GT racing stripes and fancy, complicated exhaust systems. And although I trained after I finished matric, I went and trained as a computer programmer. I actually found my future really when I went and worked for BMW, and I started out selling new cars. And that's in fact how I met my husband. I sold him a car. When I met him, he was a director of MA in trucks, and in fact, ever since we've been together, we've been in the heavy truck industry. So much as I'd like to be a full-time racing driver, actually, I'm actually a used truck dealer. We own some new truck franchises for MAN and Freightliner in Cape Town, and our current business is a used truck business called the Truckman, and we've been in that business since 1998. Racing, for me, was always a distant dream, and I actually fell into motorsport rather by accident. In 2003, I went to Kyalami to do a BMW advanced driving course, and my instructor for the day was a gentleman called Basil Mann, who's actually a multiple South African motorsport champion, and we had the most fantastic day together. He pushed me, he told me not to drive like Miss Daisy, and showed me all the lines. It was my first time ever on a racetrack. And at the end of the day, we were the fastest car there, and I think everyone was a bit taken aback. But we had an absolutely wonderful day, and I loved it. And at the end of the day, we sat together in the car, and I said to him, well, do you think I could ever be a racing driver? And he thought about it a little bit, and he said, well, it would take a lot of practice. But he was positive. He said, you know, if you work hard at it, you could do it. But maybe he was just being kind. I was actually 41 at the time, so if he'd laughed at me or said to forget about it, you're much too old, you know, it would have been understandable. But he actually encouraged me. And I think that was one of the things that planted the seed that led me to where I am today. I went home and told Don that I wanted to race. He wasn't too keen, and it took a lot of persuasion. He'd probably say a lot of nagging, but eventually he caved in and he said, okay, we'll get a car. So I started out in Shelby Can-Ams, which was like jumping in the deep end for a novice driver. It's a national series, and they were the fastest sports cars in South Africa at the time. So I had to jump in there, and I learned a lot, and I had to learn very quickly. I wouldn't recommend that, but it worked for me, and I learned a lot, and it was a very good place for me to get started in the end, in hindsight. In about 2007, I moved up into the Westbank V8 supercars. The supercars are super fast, super exciting to drive, and they're very, I think you could say they're very macho, hairy-chested cars. Certainly at the time, you know, the drivers there were the real macho guys, but very, very good drivers. I was very fortunate to race there. At the time, we had people like Willie Hepburn, Ben Morgenroot, and Henny Groenewald. So it was a very, very competitive class. They were the fastest saloon cars in the country, and you know they can do over 300 k's an hour at certain tracks like East London. So it was a great privilege to race with the guys. It was at first the guys were extremely taken aback to discover that they had a female on the grid with them. But it didn't take too long. As soon as they realized I wasn't a moving chicane, then everything was fine. I earned my respect, and in fact, a lot of them are still our best friends today, very close friends, and I often turn to them for advice with setup and so on. So it was a great learning experience, and I really enjoyed it. I was the first woman to race there. If you look at that class photo, if you look carefully, you'll see there's only one female driver there. During this time, I also campaigned a very beautiful Porsche 917 replica. That was in the sports prototype class in historics. It was an absolutely superb car to drive, and we were second in the championship there, even though we'd missed a few races. So it was ultra competitive and quite a privilege to race. In around 2012, we watched the sport of drifting for the first time. Drifting has its roots in Japan, where the young drivers started driving their very fast and powerful cars up the mountain passes, but instead of going straight, they were going sideways. So the objective was to stay sideways through all the corners, all the way to the top of the hill. From its illegal street beginnings, drifting has grown into a global extreme motorsport. With competitions throughout the US. They've got Formula Drift, Drift Masters in Europe and in Asia as well. It's very, very different to normal circuit racing. In fact, it's the total opposite, because in circuit racing, you always want to go straight. You never want to go sideways because it's slower. In drifting, your objective is to stay sideways all the time. It's also very different because it's a judge sport. So it's not the fastest competitor or the first one past who gets the flag. It's judged by normally 3 judges on things like angle, how much angle you can carry, the degree, accuracy, where you have to get very close to certain clipping points on the track. Also, it's judged on flair, lots of tire smoke, lots of excitement, high speed, all of those things you get marked accordingly. We decided to build a drift car because we thought this would be a good place for our sponsors, because it attracted a much younger generation of motorsport fans. And it's very exciting, very intense. All the action happens in a close arena. You can see everything happening, and everything happens very fast. It's like motorsport for the PlayStation generation. So we decided to build a car. We decided to build a Mustang because that's what we raced in the V8 supercar class. We found a V6 auto road car, and we took a supercar Ford Racing V8 motor and put that in, and a Jericho supercar gearbox. And fundamentally, we built a race car. And the problem was that it only wanted to go straight. And it was very humbling for me at that time because, in fact, I didn't know how to drive a drift car either. I also only knew how to race. So we had a few crashes, we had a few redesigns. And as I say, it was very humbling. A lot of people thought that I was really a totally useless female driver. And I had no idea how to drive a drift car. And I would have actually been very happy at that point to go straight back to circuit racing where I knew what I was doing. But eventually we got the car right, and let me just move on. Eventually we got the car right where it has become a very popular competitor and successful competitor in our drift series. You can see that's proximity, what we call proximity. You're judged on how close you run to the other car. And that's how the car works now. It's actually super popular, and it's a stunning car to drive. It sounds good, and it actually does go sideways now. I've managed to stay sharp on circuit racing as well. I've been racing a backdraft Cobra in the SA Endurance Series. I also race a Mark I Golf, which I absolutely love. It's a little car with the heart of a lion. And we actually came second in the 24-hour last year with that car. And then I have a Subaru BRZ, which I do the hill climb in Samola, and I'm actually driving that car this month in Cape Town for Drift City. I was also lucky enough to compete with that car in Gymkhana Grid with the late Ken Block and Peter Solberg when they were out here in South Africa. And that was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot, and it was wonderful to get to know them to some extent. And finally, I did my first off-road race in a Nissan Bakkie recently, and I'm hoping next year that we'll be perhaps doing a full season in off-road as well. By now, you're probably thinking that I'm a professional driver, as Angie's thought, with loads of money to spend on racing, and that's all I do all day. Well, actually, nothing could be further from the truth, because what I really am is I'm a full-time used truck dealer who happens to race. And I'm absolutely, well, in fact, the Mustang was built, the Mustang drift car was built out of supercar spares. We had a spare motor that was lying around, and so that car was actually very much a home build, and the Subaru was my road car, which we couldn't resist turning into a drift car as well. So the cars are definitely a sideline for us. Trucks is our main business, and that's what we do. I actually spend probably 99% of my time at work. I think we're all in the industry. We know how committed you have to be and how much time you have to spend when you're in the motor industry. So, yeah, in fact, I'm 99% a truck dealer and maybe 1% a racing driver. None of my racing would actually be possible without the support I have from my family and my friends, and of course my sponsors, very important. I've been very fortunate because I've had very good sponsors and very loyal sponsors throughout most of my career. And I'm very fortunate that even now after COVID, which made sponsorship very scarce, I still have fantastic support from Wins Oil, A-Line Wheels, Auto and Truck Tires, which is very important for drifting, and Auto Glim South Africa. So I'm very, very fortunate, and they contribute very much to making my racing possible. I've learned so much from motorsport, and it's brought many opportunities my way. Motorsport is absolutely a team sport. If I go to the track with my team, if they don't give me the right car on the day, then I can't possibly win, no matter how well I drive. And conversely, if I don't give them the feedback that they need from me to set the car up correctly, then we're still certainly not going to win. And it's exactly the same in our business. From the wash bay to the workshop, we all have to have the same passion and attention to detail with the trucks that we have with the race cars. Our objective is to build long-term relationships with our customers, and in order to do that, we have to give them the right truck at the right price, and obviously ensure that it's reliable. And that is what we do. So a lot of parallels between motorsport and the motor industry that I've found. In racing as well, we can have the best car on the day, but we can go into the first corner and another driver can take us out. And that's often the end of our day altogether. And it's very much the same. That's the story of racing, is really crash, brake, fix and repeat. And that's another life lesson really that I've had from racing is you try your best, you fall down, and the only thing you can do is get up, pick yourself up and carry on, never give up. Many people ask me what it's like to be a female driver in the motorsport world. And to be honest, there's very little difference to being a female in the motor industry. You have to work harder, have more passion, prove yourself, earn your respect over and over and over again. And then tomorrow you'll have to get up and do exactly the same thing again. So there are a lot of similarities. Motorsport's one of the few sporting codes where men and women race against each other as equals, which I think is quite wonderful. And once you've got your helmet on, you're basically just another competitor. Nobody cares if you're male or female. And in business, it's also pretty similar because initially, if I'm dealing with a used truck customer, for example, the perception initially is the typical stereotype, what do you know? And the hurdle you just have to get over is to prove to them that you actually know what you're talking about. And as soon as you've managed to overcome that, then the stereotype falls away and you can get down to business. We don't have to limit ourselves because of gender or age. Our whole society is set up to judge women on youth and appearance first. We must just ignore those stereotypes and keep pushing towards our own personal goals. I'm 61 now, and I absolutely love what I do. I'm still at the top of my game with the racing. There's absolutely no reason why gender or age should stop you from doing anything that you want to do. A common saying is in motorsport is, if somebody makes a mistake or crashes out, is, oh, he or she ran out of talent. Now, personally, I don't think talent is all that important. Opportunity is far more important than talent. If you don't have, sorry, if you don't have opportunity and you've got loads of talent, you're not going to be able to do anything creative with your talent anyway. So the most important thing that we as women have to do is create opportunities for ourselves and then create opportunities for other women as well. So, real change always comes from within, and successful women need to motivate and lead by example, and they need to motivate for change within the corporations or industries that they work. In a corporate environment, women often still need to prove that they're equal to men before they can progress. Promotion is not a given. You know, you can be really, really good at your job, but you can still get passed over just because you're not one of the boys. But then again, once women are given opportunities, they are able to show that they can outshine the men. Quite a few transport companies now are employing more female drivers because they find that the female drivers are more dedicated, more reliable, more safety conscious, and so they're employing more and more women now because the women have actually proven themselves. And that's what we have to do over and over again. It's up to us to seek out opportunities for ourselves and create opportunities for other women. One of my personal projects is to encourage more young girls to get involved in the technical side of the motor industry. Nowadays, you don't need muscle, you need brains, more so than before. You don't need a lot of muscle and you don't have to be strong to wield a laptop. And there are a lot of shortages and opportunities within the technical side of the industry. For example, on the truck side, there's a dire shortage of good auto electricians. And nothing would make me happier than seeing the person that I call to come and clear the fault on a truck turns out to be a female. And there's no reason why we can't do that. But we have to change the mindset of young women to open their minds to that kind of career. And of course, globally, that's a career with a future, not just here. I'm very fortunate that motorsport has given me such a great platform to work off. Our team has been supporting the Anne van Dyck Cheetah Centre for years and years and years. Sorry, please. The Cheetah Centre works tirelessly to look after injured, endangered cheetahs. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. I forgot to switch it off. Just hide it under the table, Angie, sorry. It'll stop. And they breed cheetah and they rehome wild cheetahs that have been injured or trapped in snares and so on. And they also take care of wild dogs, and they have a number of they have a vulture project. So they get absolutely no funding from government or anything. So we've done, before COVID, we did a corporate karting event every year, and that corporate karting event raised over $500,000 for the centre. And when COVID shut down the events, then we did a 24-hour race with a Golf Mark 1, and we raised another $100,000 for them by selling tickets to raffle the car afterwards. So that, if I wasn't involved in motorsport, it would have been very difficult to actually give back in the way that I've been able to. I've also been able to promote road safety by being an ambassador for the Road Safety Foundation, and Women in Road Safety, and also for Continental Tire's Vision Zero project. And road safety is a very important subject for me, and I'm still involved wherever I can be in road safety. And of course, the other thing that I'm extremely passionate about is getting more women into motorsport. And I'm a past president of MSA's Women in Motorsport panel as well. And that is something that I will obviously keep working towards indefinitely. A lot of women in particular also hesitate to try to do something unless they know that they can do it perfectly. Obviously, because they know all eyes are on them. It's the same with the racing. And you get judged because you're a female and you're doing something. If you don't do it perfectly, then people can be extremely critical. But please don't put that pressure on yourself. Remember, you must just do things to the best of your ability now and learn as much as you can, and then tomorrow you'll be able to do it better. You don't have to be perfect now. Your best is good enough for now. Remember, I've never actually won a championship outright. I've only come second in the championship, and they say coming second is like kissing your sister. But now imagine if I'd never started racing, because I wasn't good enough yet. Wouldn't I be much poorer? I wouldn't have been able to achieve any of the things that I've been able to since then. So don't wait until you're perfect. Do it now. If you make mistakes, learn from them and just keep moving forward. And remember, it's never too late. Doesn't matter how old you are. A lot of us suffer also from imposter syndrome, and certainly that's something that I still struggle with. And that's where, even though you're doing a good job, you don't believe it. You think you don't believe when people tell you. You think, no, I'm going to get caught out. I'm not actually that good. I can't be that good. And one of the things, an invitation like today to come and speak here. Now that puts me into severe trauma, because I also think, no, there's no way I can stand up here and talk to all these people. But the more I say yes instead of no, and I just swallow the fear and do it anyway, the more I learn. So hopefully, if I see you again in a year or two, I'll be able to do this a lot better. But I'll never give up. I'll just keep trying until I get it right. So thank you so much. I'm just going to play out with a short video that we did. Really the most important message, and I nearly forgot. My motto to myself all the time is, I can do anything. If I'm not like today, on my way here, I was saying to myself, I can do anything. I can do this. I can do anything. And just remember, if I can do anything, so could you. Oh, I got left behind. That's the little golf here we go. This is a video we did with Ford a few years ago. Drifting is fun. It's a hooligan sport. You go sideways and burn tires and make smoke. We just couldn't resist it. We decided to build ourselves a drift Mustang. I think most men are quite surprised when they see who's driving the car, especially a car like this, which is such a muscle car and so macho. Gradually, people's perceptions are changing, and they're beginning to understand that a woman can actually drive as well or better than a man. It's really very cool for me at the track when youngsters and young girls come to me and they talk to me, and you can just see that suddenly now the possibilities are coming through, that maybe this is something that they could be doing as well.
Thank you so much to Claire. Thank you for addressing the imposter syndrome that most of us actually still have, because that is something I think not only just men, but everybody goes through. Doesn't matter how good you think you are, sometimes at the back of your mind, there's that little demon that sits there and says, they want to catch you out. They know that you don't belong there. But you know what? You march through. You don't listen to that little demon, and that's exactly what you did, because there were so many things that should have kept you away from actually walking into that space. But you walked in, and now you belong, and you are a trendsetter and a trailblazer, and we thank you for that. Now, something that Yaki told us when he walked onto the stage, and I think RMI does this incredibly well. They've done this incredibly well for the past few years, and that is recognizing the power of highly capable women in leadership. RMI has done this for the past couple of years, and boy, are these women capable. And as Claire said, in a male-dominated industry, women tend to have to prove themselves day in, day out, repeatedly. And the RMI is bravely and very capably being presided over by one of those women. She has proven herself repeatedly over the last few years, and the fact that she is still the president means that she has proven herself yet again, and she continues to do exactly that. And every single time that she's taken to the stage or spoken where I have been privileged enough to listen to her speak, I have walked away feeling stronger. You know, my back is straighter because I'm thinking, wow, maybe I can channel my inner Jean Esterhuizen. That's what I want to do today. And I walk into spaces and I own those spaces. And she has owned this space, she has owned this leadership, and she's done so beautifully with such ease and also such class. Because, I mean, you know, Jean, goodness, man. Let's get to know her, though. Let her speak from the horse's mouth. Let her take to the stage. Let her come and inspire some of you that have not had the privilege of hearing her story and hearing what it is that she does for RMI. Ladies and gentlemen, Jean Esteyson.
Absolutely too kind. Good morning. Good morning, ladies, esteemed guests. I see some of the men ran away already, but I see we added one. Good morning. Just remind me again, we have online guests, don't we? Right. Good morning. Where do I see them? I don't. Okay. All right. But welcome to you ladies that are online. You know, this morning, when I got up, it's been quite a journey for me this year. It's been one of the most challenging, I think, for us in the RMI, because we're going to say goodbye to our CEO of many, many, many years in the industry. And so this year has proven for me to be reflecting on what we've achieved together. I've known Yaki many, many years, and he's been one of my mentors, and he has taken so much, I'm not going to say the word, from me. It's unbelievable, but the journey started from my side. So what's going to happen today, you're not going to hear me speak and ramble on about who I am and what I've achieved and all of those things. What I want to do today is just talk a little bit about my journey within the RMI and how I get to be where I am today. And in the context of the RMI, after that, you can ask me any question about my journey in business and where I represented the RMI in the different forums. And the reason for me being here today and why I agreed to speak at this event is literally the same as what you've said, Claire, is we need more women in leadership positions within the industry. You know, I found through my years in my journey that when there are females in a meeting and it becomes very robust, we sort of like the stabilizing factors, because we are nurturers and we are mothers and we are the human being that thinks beyond the testosterone, right? Isn't it? We are literally those people that can come into a room and create that kind of peace and quiet that is required. So, my journey with the RMI started 24 years ago when I got into a tremendous altercation with MIPCO. And who of you knows MIPCO? There's a hand there at the back. So it was a compliance issue, and same old story. MIFA's here, so they will know employers didn't pay over contribution of employees, and those employees ended up in my company. And as the CEO of a company in the motor body repair industry, they were giving me an extreme hard time about this. They refused to have anything with MIPCO. They demanded that they wanted to speak to MIPCO, and MIPCO has to sort this issue out. So obviously from my side, employees are extremely important to me. They are the gold of my company. I believe in investing in people. We were investing in people company for many, many years, and so I got MIPCO in, and the way in which this agent spoke to my employees got my hackles up. and I couldn't believe that they cannot do something for them. And then on the other side, the main agreement at the time was so very outdated. So from a business perspective, I mean, I looked at this lot and I couldn't grade my people properly and all of those things. So the regional secretary at the time, Kobus Creer, I'll never forget him, got so agitated with this whole situation because he couldn't convince me of anything. So he called in the troops, and the troops were the RMI. He even brought Misa on board to come and talk to me. And long story short, the RMI convinced me to join them. So I became a member of the RMI, my company became a member of the RMI, and I was invited by the then regional manager to join in the committee activities because I fall under the Motor Body Repairers Association. I went through the ranks of being there and then joining in the RMI regional committees. But boy, oh boy, was that a culture shock for me. I walk into this first meeting and there are these stiff-necked men. There's no other word to describe it, the ones with the big hats. You know, they sit there and it's tradition and you're not allowed to say a word. And the meeting follows this format that is so strict. Long story short, boy oh boy, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed being in the presence of men that understand their own businesses, know where they're going. I could relate to them, I could talk to them, I could share the experiences that I have. And because I'm so passionate about so many things in business, and specifically in skills development, compliance, and all of those good things, through my life, I found a platform where I knew my business would have a voice. So long story short, became involved. At one time, I was literally chairperson of MIPCO in the region. I was the RMI regional chairperson. I was involved in Mesita in the region. I was SAMBRA chairperson, and during that period, they nominated me onto the Labour representative, and that's where I met Mr. Olivier, right? So became part of wage negotiations, and I'll never forget the first time we got into wage negotiations, Louis and myself. Actually, I had probably 60 items on the agenda for wage negotiations, very naively believing that all of these things will be addressed. But one of the things that I learned very early on that I want to share is in the first MIPCO meeting, and you're going to laugh about this, the regional manager did not allow me to speak for 2 years, right? Tini was very strict. So we did speak before the time, and I would drive business issues, but I wasn't allowed to speak. But I learned to listen and observe. And I saw the one thing lacking is the relationship between employers and labor. So it was sort of like everybody was quite positional. Labor was positional on this side and employers positional on that side. And because of who I was, I decided, look, no, we have to find a way around this. So what I did was I listened, I learned from everyone, and then just started engaging with labor at that level, trying to understand where they come from, what it is that aggravates them about the employers. And we started building relationships. Same happened at the Mesita side. Dr. Patel, I'll never forget, 2006, he was appointed as the CEO at Mesita, wrote him a letter because I had issues on the skills development side. And Dr. Patel came down, we had fantastic engagements, and then he approached the CEO of the RMI, asking him if it's not possible to nominate me onto the accounting authority of Mesita. And there I started with the same thing, walked into the first board meeting, incredible animosity around the table between labor and employers and all of that. And same thing happened. First break that we had, I'll never forget it, Malebo Mohopodi, I went to her and I said, Malebo, why are you so upset? I mean, what's the story here? I mean, explain to me what's happening. And she was explaining the side from which labor came. And then when we went back, asked for an opportunity to address the issue and said, but maybe we can do it this way. A little bit of win-win on both sides, and let's see if we can do it. So that's how the relationship for me started in the industry, with both on the employer side and on the labor side. So I progressed from there in the RMI, slave drivers as they are, when you stick your hand up, ended up in a ministerial appointment on the National Skills Authority. Various task teams, ministerial task teams, was part of the development of NSDS 1, 2, 3, was involved in all of those kinds of things. And then I was asked to be a captain of industry on the RMI board, and I think Madame, my vice president, Feroz Oten, the first female president of the RMI, you can give her a round of applause. She tolerated me. In the beginning, I used to be a fireball. Everybody tolerated me, and I had so much compassion for my passion. So came onto the board and immediately graciously received funding to start the Skills Development Facilitator project, those that's been around for a long time, Project 100, I'll never forget it. Yucky, I gave him grey hairs. We worked so well together on that, appointing SDFs across the country to support business. But amongst all of this, there were many, many projects that we were involved with that we drove on behalf of members. Because remember, I was a business owner first. So everything I did was with that in view of all the businesses that I represent, because this is what it's about. You cannot become involved in the structures and just drive your own business, because we have cross-board associations. We have 8 associations within the RMI that comes anything from a car, from the tire, the bumper, the engine, anything, upholstery, anything you can think about, components. That is the RMI, Aftermarket Retail Industry Organization, and we address all of the things that is common to businesses and specific subsectors, and then across board, the RMI has an oversight role in all of that. So then I became vice president of the RMI, and later on was elected as president, and this is my 8th year of being the president of the RMI. It's an extremely dynamic environment, but you can imagine what kind of challenge it is. You know, you can just think about corporate business in South Africa. I mean, literally even today, it's male-dominated. I mean, the CEOs of your big corporates, CEOs of smaller companies even, are men. And the lesson that I've learned through the years, the one lesson that stands out for me above all else, is this ability to listen. You know, as women, we are emotional. And one day, and I want to share this, I have to share this with you. So one day, we're trying to facilitate a process. Yucky was there. We're sitting in the boardroom of the RMI, and there's a female that is extremely passionate, just like me, but new in the environment, doesn't understand collective strategies, what the proper mandate of the RMI is, because we've got a specific mandate which you cannot move out of. And this woman got upset, eh? You cannot believe it. And she stormed out there in tears. I was so taken aback. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm so used to men. They say. If they insult you, it's okay. I mean, you take it. You listen to it and you think, yeah, right. Okay, let's move on. You know, but this woman, she couldn't take it. And she was out there. So I walked out, new territory for me, because I'm not used to women around me. Probably me and Verose around, and I think Renee, the financial director there, you can give her a clap too. She's also a rose amongst the thorns. And when I spoke to the lady, the one thing that stood out for me is you won't make it in this environment. You know, simply because you look inwardly. It's me, myself, I. Right? And if it's me, myself, I, we get nowhere. You cannot change behavior. You cannot inspire. You cannot even achieve the smallest little goal if it's me, myself, I. Because as human beings, we are created to be something different than the job that we do, right? We all, nowadays, the emphasis is so much on what we do for a living. You know, who am I in business? First thing they ask you is, what do you do? Why? Because they want to put you in that box, they want to assess you in that way, and they want to say, okay, right, this is who she is, okay, right, let's move on. For me, it's more about the calling on my life is what I do with my life. What is it that you do with your life? What is the calling on your life? Is it literally something that you do senselessly? Is it something that you never think about? It cannot be, because as a mother, you have a vision of your children being successful one day and achieving great things, isn't it? Angie, you're looking at me as if you don't believe me. But the point is just, I think to articulate it better, I would say, here's to strong women, right? We've heard that before. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them, isn't it? Clap of hands for that one. Okay, so right, that was my journey within the RMI, and you can imagine people, when I was chair of Masita and they had to introduce me, they refused to introduce me. They would just say, that's the chair of the Masita, we cannot, it's going to take too long, because she's been doing so many things, and I appreciated that, because it's not about me. It was about the organizations always. It's about the RMI, it's Masita, it's MIPCO. Wherever I served, I was president of MIPCO as well at one stage, and at one stage it was chairperson of Masita, president of MIPCO, and then president of the RMI, and it was just crazy. It was just craziness, because you have to focus and you have to be still a businesswoman, you still have a family, you have all of those things that you have to take care of. But, you know, an occupation is something that you're paid to do, right? A calling is what we're made to do. And we have to find that calling in our lives. And I think for me, the calling has been to serve in the RMI, represent business on all of these structures, and do the best that I could for everybody involved. So the reason why I'm here today is literally to tell you the benefits that I derived from a business perspective being involved in the RMI, and to implore the ladies, whether you're in the audience or whether you're online, is to bring a plea to you. To come and join the ranks of the RMI, become involved in the regional committees, because the flavor that you bring in there, your expertise, your different perspectives, is so important to us. And I mean, diversity is always a good thing. You know, if you have a meal and there's just one thing on the table, it's dull, isn't it? It's dull. You want diversity, even if it's little bits of things. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I like a little bit of diversity. I like spice. I like different things, and I like to experience, and I like to challenge. You know, when you have a serious burn mark, maybe you've seen that around. If you have a serious burn mark and it makes that big scar, the only way in which you're going to get mobility back in your hand is to stretch that scar. And this is what we need to do as females. In this environment, it's a difficult environment, but we need to stretch ourselves. We need to learn from the men around us, because they're a positive. They're not a negative. They're a positive. We learn from them. They mentor us. And I don't know how much time I have, so you're going to tell me when I have 10 minutes left. Right. Donnell? Okay, so now I'm going to tell you something about the RMI and what they do for us, because also not many people understand it. When you're an HR practitioner, you only see the compliance side, the MIPCO, the pension funds, all of those things. But the RMI is really a proactive and relevant member-driven organization that constantly seeks to find solutions and concerns raised by members in the day-to-day running of their businesses. It is a collective lead voice of business and represents the industry in many various ways. I'm going to read it because it's important, and I was part of drafting all of these things and involved in it, and I never want to take away from what it is that we do. So we do centralized waste negotiations, right? Various MIPCO and industry-related boards and committee structures are available for you to serve on when you become part of that. Various South African Bureau of Standards committees and working groups, the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications, defends our industry when compulsory specifications and standards are compromised. You will know that in your environment specifically, because there's a lot of regulatory compliance there. We have the Motor Health Care Fund, Industry Provident Funds, and Sick and Accident Maternity Funds. And we are members of Business Unity South Africa, and as you know, that is the social partner to government at NETLAC. That's where all the laws are discussed, passed, and all of that. So the RMI also represents us at Business Unity South Africa. And then obviously the RMI, because of the labor side of it, represents and supports your business with professional industrial relations advice, ensuring procedural and substantive fairness when disciplining staff. They chair the disciplinary hearings and has automatic entry to the CCMA, DRC, and Labour Court. They provide exceptional CPA support at the National Consumer Commission and the Motor Industry Ombud of South Africa. They facilitate business-to-business compliance complaints where both parties are RMI members with a complaint resolution rate of over 95%. Training needs and representation at WNR CETA and MERS CETA. And I can tell you the work that I've done for the 13 years that I've been either vice chair or chair of MERS CETA opened so much possibility to me to engage internationally, and we have a lot of working relationship with international organizations. We've done a lot of work on artisan development, learned from other countries. That actually led to me receiving an honorary fellowship to the Institute of the Motor Industry in the UK in 2017. It opened a lot of doors for us to be able to engage internationally. We were recently in Germany to look with Porsche aftermarket vocational education around the electric vehicle training for South Africa. We already did an initiative with them at Formula E on first responder training for people when electric vehicle comes in an accident and people are first on the scene, what to do, not to shock themselves to death, because it's extremely dangerous for these vehicles if they are in an accident, and how to repair them. So the training needs and all of that, and then industry-specific products are available, like RMI for BEE, RMI for law, RMI for OSH, and then obviously you would have seen, those of you that don't know, the RMI communicates consistently with newsletters about things that are happening in the industry. So they keep you abreast of everything that is new, that is changing, and they would keep you up to date with what laws, regulations, and things affect your business. And so I can tell you that over the 40 years of business experience and serving in industry over the past 23, 24 years, one of the most compelling lessons that I've learned is also that women with integrity brings integrity to the industry. We need women with integrity. We don't need women to come in and play women. We need women to come in, be yourself, be your feminine self. I always strive to be like Rose. She's the most feminine person. I shared with the CEO, I brought a dress today. I packed in a dress with full intention to blow your minds with me in a dress. And when I put it on, no. It's not going to work because I'm traveling. And no, it doesn't work for me. But I love dresses. But so be yourself, but be aware that you are in a man's environment. And to earn respect, you have to respect yourself, right? We don't walk around with minis up to here and I'm sorry now I'm preaching, but it's literally the truth. Because in a man's environment, it is really important to show that we can be feminine without trying to manipulate our way, trying to get our way in a certain manner. So what I want to say is that let's commit ourselves to the change that we want to see in our industry. And that's what you've done. You were part, even though you were racing, there was a bigger picture. You became involved in bigger things, and it impacted on the country, the people, and that is what we need to do. That's the vision that we need to have as women. It's not about ourselves. We live in a country with tremendous opportunity, but also tremendous hardship. And now is the time to become involved, because the growth of the economy of South Africa is within the small business environment. We need to give support to that. We need to see that they've got the proper skills. So now, for me, I'm done. I'm just going to use one thing, and then you can ask me any question. Not personal, though, but you can ask me any question. So in the words of Maya Angelou, you all know her, she says, each time a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women, right? And that is what we need to do. So let us stand up, let us lead, and let us inspire. Together we can profoundly impact our industry and leave a legacy of empowerment for future generations. Okay? Now the floor is yours. Is there anything you would like to ask me? Don't be shy. Because I can tell you one thing, that's the first question I always hear about when women ask me. It normally revolves around MIPCO, the role of MIPCO. So MIPCO is the Motor Industry Bargaining Council, for those of you who don't know, right? And all that MIPCO does, there's a MIPCO representative here today, and she's now communications for MIPCO. Right. All that MIPCO does is the parties to the council, the employer organizations and the labor organizations, they come to an agreement once we do wage negotiations. So there's a collective agreement that everybody agrees to, and that agreement is enforced by MIPCO. So MIPCO is not the culprit. You should fight with your party about the agreement that they've agreed with the labor unions. So come on, Annelie, you're always very vocal. Ask me something. I've seen you yesterday, didn't I? Okay, right.
I was saying diversity is very easy to acknowledge. Our challenge is inclusive. How do we create that inclusive environment for women to set them up for success, and also to navigate on how do you navigate this male-dominated environment, and also, sadly, to teach some of the men in terms of how do I, if I get a challenge as a female in the auto industry, how do I respond in a way that is good for me, not to have imposter syndrome, but to also equally teach that man that this is how you treat women. I'm not here to make you tea, as an example. So just your views around mentoring women in the automotive industry.
Through the years, I've had that a lot, and from my own perspective, I do mentor. Currently, I'm mentoring an industrial psychologist into a role, and in community, I've always been involved in mentoring as far as possible. You can understand that mentoring has many different facets. And I don't know if you were here last year, but Nonnie is going to speak to that topic a little later on, so I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but we've identified that need, just to give you peace of mind on that. On the second one, the fact is we need to educate men how to treat women. If I have to be quite honest with you, I've never had... Somebody asked me a question one day, were you ever harassed by a man in all of these years? And I said, no. I cannot remember that I was ever asked to do something that was out of my integrity or whatever it is. I think if we want to educate men how to treat women, we have to speak straight forward. So if a man treats you, I had a recent example in one of the boards that I serve, where the gentleman was really becoming personal. You know, they don't get their way and then they attack you personally. We all know that. And all I did was say, look, I'm very sorry if I offended you, right? It was not my intention, because he's a bit emotional than I am. So I said, I'm sorry, I apologize for that, but you know what? In this environment, We have to treat one another with respect. Otherwise, we're not going to achieve the goal. So I think the education of men is a lot to do with us, but nothing prevents us from having a workshop together with men on the topic. You know, the RMI has literally, in all of the years that I've been around, and Jackie will testify to that effect, we can differ. We differ. Seriously, Rose will attest to that as well, at board level. I mean, these are strong businessmen, and we can differ. But I found that humor, straight talking, helps you to overcome that biasness about it. But the minute that we as women become emotional, you know, and it's tears and it's, you know, the things that doesn't need to be in a boardroom because it's not about us, then things go haywire. But I would suggest in the motor industry for us, for you, if you're in the automotive industry, and there's a real problem, that as women, we talk about that. Because that's also the one thing that I found in my life is I needed to soundboard things off other people. And that's why the group of women that are here today is extremely important for me, and it was last year, and last year we committed to start a forum where we can talk to topics. We can talk to topics, the format, and Nonnie will talk to that later. I hope that answers your question. Because, I mean, men are brought up the same way we are. It's subjective, it's how they were raised, what environment they were raised, same with women. So it's what influenced you from a child, who are your teachers, all of those things we know shape us. And some people are still got big chips on their shoulders, and sometimes I feel it's my responsibility to try and help rather than to attack. Right? Did you have your hand up? Okay, I just saw you do that. So, are you all happy? Don't have a question? Renee?
In order to achieve your goals, do you plan ahead?
I'm going to share a story. I think about things and then it happens. So, I'll never forget, and I want to share this. I sat in a plane on my way, probably to the second national MIPCO meeting. Don't ask me which year. And I looked at this agenda. Jackie, you know the technical jargon, and I mean, it's a highly regulated environment and all. And I looked at this lot. I looked at the list of names. I've been in that boardroom and I saw all of these uncles with big hats. I've been in the environment, and I looked at that. And I thought to myself, I wonder if it's possible that I will ever become the president of MIPCO. And I said to myself, I'm sure it's possible. And I did. The thing is for me is in the RMI environment or in any of the committees that I serve, you know I'm a goal-orientated person. If I get a notion that something needs to be done, I will drive it until it is done. It is the same with you. I got a big bike license at the age of 38. My first R1 on a track at 39. Did on off-roads, did motocross. I'm an equestrian. I ride horses. I broke my hip and my femur 2 years ago from a horse. I climb mountains. I scramble mountains. I do mountaineering. And I challenge myself. So if I want to do something, I set my mind to it and I will go for it. I'll think about it and it happens. I was 5 years old. My father told me. I was 5 years old and I told him, I'm going to drive a Mercedes-Benz one day. Right? And I did. What you believe and what you speak becomes reality. If we speak negatively and say we cannot do it, right? I get goosebumps if I say it. And you say you cannot do it, and you have these people that have this negative talk the whole time. That's why their lives are in shambles. Speak positively. Speak into life what you believe in. Liesle, my good friend. She's the CEO of MIFA.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. Morning, ladies in the room and the ones that are online. You've just spoken to it in a sense that, you know, my question, how do you perfect your imperfections? Because in as much as all of us, we would like to be superwomen, we know that there are limits. So how do you compensate for those?
Okay. So I'll share a personal bit of my story. I was one of 5 children, right? And we weren't poor, but I mean, we were just a normal family. And when my sister went to study, I saw the impact that it had on my parents. And we were still going behind. So I made the decision that I will not do that to them. I had the ability, opportunity, all of that. I will work and study. I will do my own thing. But how I realized very early on, for me, I become probably sometimes too strategic in my thinking, that I forget about the nitty-gritty things here at the bottom and things that need to happen. So I studied, but I couldn't for the life of me juggle. I was in business I started working when I was 17, I went to school when I was 4. So I started working at 17, right? I worked for myself from a very, very young age. And all I did the whole time, I became an autodidactic. I self-educated myself in any of the lackings that I had. So if I had to know about this topic, Jackie will tell you, I would go in and zone in on it, and I would go and learn everything I need to do about it. Studied, raised my child, refused to put him somewhere, so I decided that I will stay with him and I will believe for a job or something that I can do for 4 hours a day that I can raise him, right? And in that way, I will be with him. As soon as I started studying, my father died. It caused shambles in our family. My mother never worked with money. So what did I have to do? I had to take over the family, right? Then, when I started again, my sister died in a car accident. My sister was my right hand in the business. So what did I have to do? I had to sort of fill all these roles, juggle in business, started a company from a micro enterprise, built it through into a large company. Left a legacy, stepped down in 2018 for the next generation to come up. It's a thriving business, a massive business. And how did I achieve that? By learning, lifelong learning. Lifelong learning. So if I have an incapability, either I'll source the expertise somewhere else to assist me, because that's what I do. If I don't know anything and I cannot learn it fast enough, I will source somebody in to help me. That was your question. That was your question. Thank you. Thank you very much. Join the RMI.
Well, I don't know about you, but that speak life into what you want, speak life into what you want to achieve, that resonated with me. Because sometimes we get so boggled down by whatever negativity is going on in our lives that you dwell there and you are unable to move because you're drowning in your negativity. So if you can just speak life, that's going to be my mantra for the rest of the year. So thank you very much. Jean, thank you for wearing the many hats you've worn in business. Thank you for wearing the many hats you've worn in the motor industry, because you, in your position as the RMI president, have given women a voice. The voice was there, but having a woman speaking for the RMI has made that voice louder, because representation is so vitally important. So thank you so much. Jackie, can you see the legacy you're leaving behind, since this is your swan song? You know, having seen the possibility and the potential in the women that you've put in positions of power is a legacy that you can be very proud of, because you can walk away knowing that the doors are wide open. Jean has just said that join the RMI, ladies, because somebody opened the door for her. She's making the door wider. So, Yaki, I think you deserve a round of applause for the work you've done and for being willing to constantly be the rose amongst the thorn, or the thorn amongst the roses. It doesn't matter, but you've done your job, and you've done it well, sir. And we thank you for everything that you've done to make it possible for these powerful, capable women to have a seat at the table. So thank you. We thank you for that. We need faith and courage, because those two things, when the tank is empty, faith and courage will get you there. Now imagine taking the first step towards a thriving career, but you are just 14 years old. Not only did the speaker that I'm going to call up did that, now at 36, that first step is into a male-dominated automotive repair industry. As a proud member of SAMBRA, she shares her journey with us today, from the dusty streets of Davidton, Ekurhuleni, to one of the largest repair operations in the country and her own business. She's going to talk to us about the courage that I'm speaking of. One needs to succeed in the male-dominated industry, and one needs courage to do exactly that. And how to become fearless. I don't know about you, but I deal with fear a lot. So if someone has got some crib notes on how to be fearless, I'm all about that. Ayanda is going to come up here, Ayanda Mthethwa, and she is going to give us something to think about, something to probably resonate with, and like I said, something that is going to help us finish this year with a bang. Ayanda Mthethwa.
Wow! It's an absolute pleasure to be standing before everybody. I'd like everybody to please stand up. We're going to give ourselves a standing ovation as women in this room. Men, you can represent your wives, your partners, whatever it is, it's okay. But we're going to give ourselves a standing ovation for resilience, for power, for courage, for strength, for stamina to be in the automotive industry. Because we know, it's not easy. It's not easy to be in the automotive industry. Every single day we try to prove ourselves. Every single day we multiply ourselves. Every single day we work 3 times harder than everybody else. Can we kindly give ourselves a round of applause? Sanbonan, morning. My name is Ayanda Mthethwa. My journey is long. It's through, I call it pain through purpose. I had a lot of adversity. I had a lot of trials. I have a lot of tribulations. My journey has a lot of tears. I hope nobody cries after this. I hope I don't cry after this. I started at 14 years old at BMW, just in Boksburg. Funny thing, you know, when an entrepreneur, born an entrepreneur, you always see opportunity and chance every sneaky corner you get. So while I was there, my mother was servicing a vehicle. She was sitting there. She shows me, like, that's the owner of BMW. I'm like, what? And she says, yeah. It was a woman. I couldn't believe it. My mind was blown away from that day. And I said, if this lady can do it, then so can I. Her name was Val Renkel. Having a cup of tea, I walked up, 14 years old. I said, hello, ma'am. May I please have a chance? And she looks at me, a chance to do what? I said, I want to be a mechanic. Please come Monday. Okay. Come Monday, then we'll talk properly. I said, no problem. I left, I told my mother. My mother was like, okay, no, fine, I'll drop you off on Monday. We got there Monday. Val Renkel gives me overalls. She says, okay, show me what you got. I'm like, I'm not going to show you, you need to teach me. And she's like, okay, no problem. She shows me around the workshop. Says, okay, you're going to start today working. I'm like, wait, you didn't ask me if I'm in school or not. She says, Ayanda, by you asking me the first time, you've got a plan. So you're going to tell me your plan. And I said, okay. We walked off, she showed me the workshop, tiny, because I'm short, so I was very short and tiny that time. She showed me around the workshop. We walked around, met the people there. Everybody was laughing at me, and I was laughing back at them. And then we walked back, and I said, okay, I'm still in school, but what I'm going to do, when school closes, I'm going to come back and work. After that, when school opens, I go back to school. Vocational schooling, I guess. She said, no problem, done deal. I was still in school ahead days that time. I started working. One day in, I was like, no, this is not for me, thank you. I need to be there 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 actually. I need to leave at a certain time. I need to drink tea at a certain time. I said, I'm not going to do this. This is definitely not for me. And I'm like, you know what? I've really started this journey. Let me continue. But I knew from on then, because now chance and opportunity presented itself, I continued. I continued for coming 3 years. While I was there, I learned so much about the systems at BMW. Then I knew from that 3 years that I'm going to own my own shop, was to sell parts, because I could see that they're not making money from selling cars. Actually, the parts is what they're making money from. Then I started modeling my plan. Then Val Renkel was selling her business at the time, because she was moving to Cape Town. And she told me, no, we can move together because I'm going to buy another branch in Cape Town. And I said, okay, because me, trans and a producer again, I said, no problem, I'm going with you. I go to my mother. My mother's like, Ayanda, you're not going nowhere, my sweetie. I'm like, what? No, I'm going. Remember, Val, my boss? I'm going. She's like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here, you're going to finish your education. Now I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm crying, because now I'm missing this chance and opportunity again to live in another city. Then she leaves, I stay, and then I continue with my mechanical engineering. I dropped out of school. I need to put that point out, at grade 10. I dropped out of school, went to do my mechanical engineering at an FET college. So it was a walking distance because I'm from Davidson. I walked to school, doing my mechanical engineering. Then I was headhunted that time by Gautrain. I was doing my N4, if I'm not mistaken. Came in, they headhunted me, went into Gautrain, they paid for my tuition fees, and then they paid for my learning, everything. It was a learning curricular thing. So when I was doing that, I moved on forward. I started then learning about trains. Why? God forbid, I don't know why. But I remember Steve Jobs said everything is connecting the dots. My life is connecting the dots. So I learned about trains, the systems, the operations, while we were digging, so still fairly new in the industry. We moved on. I left that. And then I became stagnant in my life. Very stagnant. Then I opened a business, started selling my parts. I was busy chopping and changing here. You know, when you chance, you chance. When you're born entrepreneur, you chance, you chance. Started chancing. I met a white man, Mr. Marcus Dienkamp from Mustang Auto in Pinoni. He says to me, come, join me. I said, no, why? No, come and join me. I said, okay, why am I joining you? And I'm going to teach you panel beating, sweetie. I'm like, no, mechanic, I don't know anything about panel beating. I'm going to teach you. I said, no problem. Gain, chance, and opportunity presented itself. I went into a workshop. I started learning panel beating, from production to process to value chain, everything I learned there. And then he says to me, you're such a bright girl. I'm selling you my company. I'm like, okay, this is turning south now, but it's fine. Chance and opportunity again. Then I started saying, okay, no, it's fine. How much do you want? 5 million. Oh my God, I don't even have 5 rands in my pocket right now. But no, fine, don't worry, I'll see what I'll do. And then I go talk to my mom. My mom's like, Anna, you're giving me headaches every single time you go out of this house, you know? Came back, I met this wonderful gentleman. This gentleman knew Tom Creamer, who was in Auto in General at that time, which is Telisha Holdings now. They present me, and he says, no problem, we'll fund the lady. Yeah. But it came with terms and conditions. They said, we'll give you the 5 million, it's a grant, but you're going to be there for 3 years. You're going to work for 3 years, you're going to understand every single thing that's happening in that business. And in that business, now we're doing due diligence. So there was auditors coming in, everything was being done in that business, you know, to make sure that I'm not buying a shell company. We did everything, 3 years full working. I remember it was February the 15th, 2019, if I remember well, 2017 if I'm not mistaken. The owner of that company came to me. He says, I want to talk to you. You know when your intuition is very strong, you know that the universe is starting to shift again. It shifted that day. And I sat with him, he's asked me, and I said, okay, what's wrong? He says, Ayanda, I'm sorry, but I'm not selling my company anymore. You're not selling? What do you mean? Why have I been here for 3 years then? He says, no, I thought about it with the wife. I can't be doing this anymore because what am I going to be left with? I'm like, but you're the one that said I must come and buy. So what am I going to do now with my life? But because I've got pride, I never showed my internal thinking. I never spoke my internal thinking. I said, okay, you don't want to sell, no problem. It's your business, do what you need to do. I took my bag and walked out with pride because that was the only thing that I had that day. I went back home. I told my family that, listen, I'm unemployed, going on forward today. Are you not buying a company? That's my mom again. Well, I'm telling you now, I'm unemployed. So you're going to take care of me until I figure myself out. And she says, you know what? It's fine. You're my child. There's nothing you can do about it. I cried. I cried. In my secret corner, because nobody seen me cry, but I cried. And I said, God, what now? Then I had to now go back to Telusha and say, the deal is off. The guy used an exit plan out of the contract. And they're like, okay, no, we can't do this. Now they want to sue, they want to do all these things. And I said, no, we had a big meeting with Telusha. And I said, no, I've learned. I didn't walk away with nothing. I've learned something. I was trained, I was mentored. I understand the value chain. I was capacitated with knowledge. So there's no way that I walked out with nothing. So don't stress. Give me some time to regress and step back, and I'll come back again. Did I not do that? I stayed at home for 6 months, not knowing what to do. I've got a little son, by the way. Not knowing what to do. 6 months went by, and my mom was like, you know what, I'm tired of you. You're crying every day, you're moping around, you're watching Korean dramas every single day. Try to find something to do. Why can't you open your shop? Actually, all right, why am I not opening my own shop? I've got the knowledge, I've got the experience, I've got the background. Why not? Sure. I move in. My mother and I go now looking for a shop. Little did I know, Benoit Town is a problem because no landlord wants to lease out to auto body repairers. Panel beaters. Panel beaters is the correct term now. The devil's den, you know, because always complaining that we're leaving their shops in an unruly manner and an end. It was a battle. 3 months later, I got a shop. Nice small shop. My family funded me. That's why there's a 3 F's in business, where you loan money. Family, friends, and fools. You never use your own money when you're starting a business. Anything that you do in the business, you don't take out your own money because you're going to regret. 3 F's. Family, friends, and fools. That's where you get your money. All these people, they did give me money. All these people, they gave me money. My family gave me money. My friends gave me money. Actually, my friends were sustaining the business because I had friends that work 9 to 5. So they were obligated to give me money when they get salaries. The salary comes in, they send me money. You understand? Those were my friends. The fools were the fool that gave me more than I needed to have at that time. And they gave me because they trusted me. When you build things in integrity and trust, it's easy for people to trust in you and to build you. So I got loans. We'll call them loans. I got loans. I got assisted. My shop started up. That shop was called Inevitable Auto and Electric. Inevitable means destined. I named it for a purpose, that name. Little did I know it was going to catapult me into another direction. My shop did fairly well. For a new shop, it did amazing. I was doing speed repairs. I was smart. I don't want to deal with parts because parts have a timeline, back orders, lateness. I don't want to deal with angry clients. I want to make people to collect their cars and they should be happy. So I dealt with smart repairs. Car comes in, car comes out. First month of opening that shop, I only did 3,000. I've got 5 employees, I've got rent. I'm like, okay, I'm not stopping, let's continue. We gear up again. I continued, I soldiered on. My debt is piling up, mind you. I'm not making that money yet. Debt is piling up, but I continued. I remember sitting with myself, it was in April, and I said, this money, it's the last time I'm making this money. Next month, I need to make over 100K, not less. I left my staff, I trained my staff very well. It was easy for me to leave them in a shop and do what I need to do in the streets, find business. I went out, I found business. I promise you, not even April, when March came, I clocked in 280,000 a month. Okay, moved. Now, month goes by, doing fairly well, partner up with Land Rover, partner up with BMW. I'm moving up with the ladder. Everybody's interviewing me left, right, and center. My life is busy, you know? Comes COVID. For a young company, comes COVID. And I say, okay, what are my options? My options are minimal now. I sit. Now I've got landlord piling up, there's debt now piling up because I can't put in any cars. My life is standing still again. Now I'm under depression because the calls are coming in. They're not coming in to say, I want to bring in my car. The calls are coming in is that, when are you paying me back? When are you giving my money back? When are you paying us, Ayanda? We're going to send you to court, Ayanda. Those are the calls that are coming in. Then comes in my personal life. I'm going through a divorce. Divorce is not something that's easy. You don't just walk away. You think you'll walk away. You think, oh no, take, this is your car, take your house. It's not like that. Divorce is an emotional state. It's one of, I think, top 2 stressful factors in the world. That sank me more into depression because I'm fighting my personal life. I'm fighting for my business. He is also fighting for my husband now is fighting for the business too. You understand? It's like, no. I assisted in the business, so I need to have part share of the business. So now he wants to assume directorship of the business. I'm like, there's no cooking way I'm going to work with you, you know, because we're at loggerheads. Families at loggerheads, you know. I became an alcoholic. I became an alcoholic because I needed a coping mechanism. Now I'm moving from my home back to home. My house, my estate, my cars, my lavish lifestyle. I'm moving back to Davidson, where I vowed that I'll never go back, but I went back. Went back with my son in one car. Now, my mother's like, and now? I said to my mom, I don't have a plan, mommy. Can I just take a break? And she said, it's okay, take a break. I took a break with my son. In that midst of adversity, then my son is not coping in school. I'm like, what is going on now? He's not coping, he's not reading, he's not writing. I take him to therapists, psychologists, OT therapists, all these things. They tell me that he's got a high IQ, causing him to have dyslexia. So it's hampering on his reading and writing. So now I need to remove him and take him to another private school, which costs an arm and a leg. I don't have that money. I don't have that money. I'm not even making money now. Me becoming an alcoholic was a coping mechanism. I'd leave early in the morning, 8 o'clock, drop off my son at school. By me dropping off my son at school, I'm already starting drinking. I'm drinking heavily. Dropping my son off at school, I'm already half drunk. I'm sitting with friends. Township is nice. Township, everything can happen now. You know? You can have a bar on a Tuesday. You understand? Go clubbing on a Wednesday. Come back Thursday, you repeat the cycle. Car wash Friday, because now we're preparing for the weekend. By the time you notice it, 1 year's gone. 1 year's gone because of the township. Because they consume you so much because now you're thinking you're happy, but you're not happy. You're closing that gap. So every time I'll drink, every morning I'll drink, until the AMs. I'll come back, I'll make sure 3 o'clock AM, I'm back, AM, to make sure that I can take my son to school. But now I'm an absent mother. I'm no longer there because I'm not at home. I'm drinking. I've lost the company, I've lost marriage, I've lost assets. Everything that I've built is gone. It's gone. Every time I see my portfolio, my profile, my pictures, I'm like, where is this person? I need this person back, but how do I find this person? How? Every single night I'm crying. How do I find this person if I'm telling so much? And you know, there's this thing when you say it can never get worse. For me, it got worse. Yeah, there's no word called worse, but for me, it got worse. Because, you know, every time now I'm under, what's this? My account got frozen. For what good reason, I don't know. My account got frozen. I can't move a muscle now. Now I'm living by e-wallets. Please send me an e-wallets. Please send me an e-wallets. Please send me an e-wallets. You know, please send me cash send. That's how I was living. Because I was so tired of now being a burden at my family. Now I'm running away and getting drunk every single day for a year. One day I remember I came home, 3 o'clock in the morning. I saw my son sleeping. When I saw him sleeping, I don't know what happened, but I tripped and I fell. Me falling, I cried tears that I've never cried. The tears that I cried were for all those years and all the things that I've lost. During my divorce, not even once have I cried. I only cried that time when I fell. Because I looked at my son, I looked at myself, I look at all this turmoil that's going around, and I said, this can't be my life. And I said to God, this is the first time I gave a plea to God. I said, God, rescue myself, yeah. Now, rescue me now from this cage that I'm in, and I'll live to tell about you. I only prayed once and said, God, just rescue me. I don't know where I am, but I know this is not me. But please rescue me. Did not God show up? Did not God show up for me? I promise you. You know, when you receive salvation, everything becomes different. You move differently. You think differently. I couldn't touch alcohol after that. Nobody assisted me. I couldn't touch alcohol. I said, okay, let me regress, let me relax, stop drinking alcohol, stop smoking. I stopped going out. I started to clean myself, internally, mentally, and spiritually. I started building a bond with God. I started understanding God's word. Every single day I consumed it. Then comes a call. I know this guy. I'm like, I wonder what this one wants now. It's John. He says, Ayanda, come see me. I said, no, why are you summoning me? Ayanda said, come and see me. I said, no, John, I'm not going to come. Do you want to kill me? What have I done? Because now I'm so used to bad things now. I'm always thinking now extreme sports, you know? And he's like, no, come and see me. I said, no, John, I'm not going to come and see you. Fine. He leaves me. 1 month, 2 months go by. He calls again. He says, Ayanda, just come and see me. I say, okay, fine, I'll come and see you. I go to motor accident group. Selby Poisons. Get there and say, John, why are you summoning me? You know, I'm not your wife, you don't call me like that. And he laughs, he says, yeah, you're still cheeky. Everybody tells me in this industry that you're very feisty, so I need you. I said, no, why would you want me? You've got money, why do you need me, you know? I don't even have 1 rand, so what do you need? He says, Ayanda, let's work. I said, no, I'm not going to work for my white man. Why am I not doing that to myself? I've got the experience, I've got the capabilities. Me being cocky and my pride at that time, you know. He says, I didn't say come work for me. I said, come work with me. Let's build. I said, John, are you on drugs? Can I give me some of the drugs too? Maybe I can be in this mental energy that you have. And he says, just come. And I said, okay, no problem. I go to MHE. 2 weeks later, I go. I promise if no, he's not here, Pete Neiman from Miwa. He rescued me, that guy. 2 weeks me going to MHE, there were so many problems. But wow, did God not show off? All my networks that I've built since I was 14 are starting to work now. All the directors, the CEOs, everybody are starting to work now. We had so many problems. I remember there was a time Eskom came in to uplift their vehicles because we're not MIWA accredited. I said, what? I said, lock up all those gates. Johnny's like, no, Ayanda, we need to release the vehicles. I said, lock up the gates. Security personnel went out. We locked up the gates. I called Peter. Peter was not answering. Peter Niemand, he was not answering. I called 100 times, but I said to myself, I am not going to sleep. This guy is going to answer. Eskom is calling wanting their cars. They're sending tow trucks in to collect. I tell everybody in the workshop, you're not going to open any gate. We're going to fix this together. You know? I call Peter. He finally answers, you can't be calling me 2,000 times. I'm like, you were supposed to answer the first time. You know? And then he rescues me from that problem that we have. And then Eskom comes in again in the morning and say, hey, you're not accredited. I'm like, oh, we're not accredited. Look at us. Are you taking your tracks now? Give me a reason to take your tracks, then I'm going to show you. Every single day was God showing off. Every single day, God showed me that everything that I've went through was for a reason. every single objection, every single thing that I have went through came through now. I'm living it. So now, because God is showing off tremendously, John says to me, let me franchise you one of my branches. I said, dude, I've been here. I'm not going to do this again. You white men like taking people like this, you know? Like, no. I've seen your potential. You just need to see yourself in that potential. I see it, you don't. But by the time I'm done with you, you're going to see your potential. You're going to see the powerhouse of a woman that you are. I'm like, listen, I don't do white men, by the way. Just telling you now. I don't like white men, so don't come here with nonsense. Like, no, it's pure business, you know? And he says, okay. And then I go back home again to my mom. Mommy, I'm going to own MHG. You're on drugs. Which drugs are you taking with that white man so we can rescue you? I'll take you to rehab now, you know? There's no way you can own MHG. And I didn't say the whole of MHG. Listen, just a branch, then I'll be buying that, you know? And she says, okay, fine. I thought this white man was taking me for a ride. No, he didn't. John really catapulted my career. He really supported me. He really pushed everything about me. I grew in less than a year because of God. Nothing else. I'm not here because I know it all. I'm not here because I asked. I pleaded because I knew my true potential, but I could not see it at that time. Today, I'm proud to stand before everybody now and say, never ever give up. Even if things are difficult, never ever give up. You know? It's not easy, but somewhere along the line, the silver lining is going to appear, no matter what. Because it took me 22 years to get where I am now. It's a long time of a lot of trials and tribulations. If I'll tell you all my trials and tribulations will be here till next week, I just cut it down. But never ever give up. I loved what you said, that when you think about something, it happens. It should be like that. I kid you not, when there was a time, I was very still young, I was learning how to do estimating of vehicles. I passed Longmeadow. MHG was still brand new that time. I looked at this company and said, one day. But I never said one day what. I just said one day when I was passing. And look at me now. I'm at Longmeadow. Never give up. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
Thank you so much to Ayanda. Thank you for walking through hell to be standing here to show us that there is definitely a way. They always say, last year we had a similar story with someone who is so small but packs a big punch. And yet again, we have someone so small packing such a big punch and wearing such big shoes in a big world. And we thank you for having come through here. I don't know if she spoke to you, but that resonated with me. As a woman in business, as a man in business, entrepreneurship has no equal because it doesn't really care whether you're a black lady from Davidton, you are Jean who grew up, where did you grow up, John? In Berkeley East. I'm Angie Kumalo who grew up on Otweba in KZN. And all of us have walked different journeys in this entrepreneurship. And it always has its hurdles, it has landmines, it's got all types of things. I'm going through my personal landmine as a woman in business. So what she said today and what John said today has given me so much impetus to still stand tall tomorrow with all the trials and the tribulations and just carry on. So to everyone that's listening at home, to everyone that's here today, to everyone who's starting and owning a business, I'm hoping that you're taking some crib notes because it's the success stories that inspire. It's not the stories of failure. If she had not fallen down and woken up, she wouldn't have touched my heart today. She wouldn't have touched your heart today. She wouldn't have inspired the numerous people that work for her, the people that she encounters on a daily basis. She wouldn't have opened that window of opportunity for people like John, that's his name, right? To say that, you know what, I see potential. She would be a story of one of the many numerous people that are partying in Davidton and drinking their lives away. So Thank you for that fall. That fall was it. That fall has fed us today, and we thank God that you fell that day. There are many other inspirational women in this room. One of them is so ladylike, it's not even funny. Her name is Feroz. Feroz Oten. She is the vice president of the board of RMI. She previously served from 2006 for 6 years. She was the first woman to preside over RMI. She is the first person of color to preside over RMI. Now, this is a male-dominated world, and it's a white man-dominated world, and she just cruised through and came through, and she's so spoken, but she is so powerful. Feroz is now the CEO of TUV SUD South Africa, managing director of AVTS Roadworthy Stations in the Cape. She holds a master's in executive management, and she is a woman of power that has driven change. She's going to join us on stage because we're going to have a panel discussion. So Feroz, while I introduce the next person, please join us on stage. And then we have Teresa Spencer Higgs, who is currently the co-owner of D&T Servicing in East London, which is an independent mechanical shop. She was technically born into the industry, her dad being a panel beater, her grandfather spray painter. She later went on to also marry a motor mechanic, and she serves on the RMI board as well, chairperson of the RMI in the Eastern Cape and vice of MIWA in Eastern Cape, serves on the RMI Labour Exco, and has various other portfolios. As all these women do, they wear many hats, and they wear them all so stylishly. She has been an integral player in the initiatives that the Motor Mechanic Show in East London and the Women's Maintenance Workshop, rather, which are now being rolled out in the country. So can she join us on stage as well? Andrea Bornia Buota. She's a proudly woman-owned workshop. She's the chair lady of MIWA in the Central Region Committee, chair lady of the National MIWA Training Committee, and MIPCO board member as well as Maseta Chamber Committee. And she's also a mom and a wife. So she wears many hats, and also can she please join us on stage? And then Sandra Singh. She's currently the executive and human capital at NMI, Durban South Motors. NMI is the third biggest motor retail franchise in South Africa. It employs over 3,300 employees in all provinces, and that includes Botswana and the Northern Cape as well. She's been in the Motor Industry Bargaining Council and RMI structures for over 20 years. Currently, she holds the position of Vice Chairperson for the Motor Industry Bargaining Council, and this role interchanges every 3 years, and she's the chair of that. And she's also the chairperson of RMI in KZN and the Vice Chairperson of NADA, and she's also on the board of RMI. Can she join us on stage as well, please? Now, these ladies, if by the end of this discussion don't inspire any kind of inspiration, I don't know, man, then that just means you're beyond inspiration or you don't need it at all. Feroz, I'd like to start with you. You know, you've excelled. You've excelled in a lot of different ways. You've excelled in a lot of different roles. But you know, the way we might describe excellence might not be how you describe excellence. So my question to you is, what do you define as the spirit of excellence, and what does it take to possess it? Because I mean, if we can possess it, we'd be unstoppable.
Oh, it's actually a more complex question than just being excellent, which is being outstanding.
Yeah.
I think we saw examples today of the spirit of excellence. We saw it in Jean,
Yep.
and she specifically mentioned the word integrity.
Yes.
We saw it in Ayanda, and Ayanda, it's courage. But I think the spirit of excellence is really for every person in this room. If they are on their chosen journey and they're doing it in the best way possible,
Yeah.
for me, that's the spirit of excellence. It's not actually perfection, but it's actually doing well what you do. Even if you make a cup of tea and you're doing it with pride, and you're doing it in the best way possible,
Yeah.
for me, that's the spirit of excellence.
Oh, I love that. Because you can't mimic it. You can't take how your spirit of excellence is and apply it to me and think it's going
Exactly.
to work. I love that. Teresa, what are the key success factors for those who are achieving success in this industry, and how do you know that you are actually making progress?
I think society boxes everyone into success, and they like say, to be successful, you need to have money and a job with this X, Y, and Z. But I think every woman in this room is successful. I think the fact that you got up this morning, you got your kids ready, you got yourself dressed, you got to this function, and you're sitting here probably planning the birthday present you need for your child for the weekend.
Yeah.
And you're still doing this, completing a job at the same time. That is success. We don't need to subscribe to society's success. I think we're all successful in our own way, and as women, we need to uplift ourselves for everything we do. We don't need to dull somebody else's shine to make our shine look good.
Yes, I love that. Sandra, now we're here because the RMI invited us. The RMI does a lot of great work. The RMI is recognizing the women in the industry who are also trying to, make footway and leeway for other people that are coming behind them. What do you believe the RMI should do or implement to ensure that it builds a legacy for future female leaders?
Often enough I've heard people talk about integrity, and I've heard people talk about compliance. But when I look at the RMI and I look at us, and I'm one of the corporates in the RMI structures, and a lot of the people present here are either business or have their own businesses, etc. So from a corporate point of view, when I look at the RMI, one needs to lead by example. And for me, I think leaving a legacy means leading by example.
Yes.
So if you look at the RMI, it's also got a lot of women in its structures as well. So I think uplifting women for me is very important. I think if you look at pay parity, if you look at employment equity, if you look at diversity and inclusion, all those things, the RMI needs to set an example for.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we as industry and small business will learn. So I think that's the legacy they can leave behind, by leading by example.
100%. Andrea, firstly, since I butchered your surname, tell me how to say it properly.
It's Bochner Botha.
Bochner Botha. There we go. How did you get into the industry?
Well, I was like Teresa, born into it.
Yeah.
We come from Austria, so one of my uncles owned a Citroen Jeep garage. My dad also qualified in Austria. Together, my dad and my uncle, they did the Formula V. And I remember when I was still a young child, for pocket money, I would wash my dad's tools with petrol.
Yes.
So it's been in my blood forever.
Okay. And it didn't get out of your blood? Because
No.
sometimes when you do something because the family does it, by the time you're 18, you want to run the opposite direction. It didn't do that for you?
No, you know what I had in my heart? I was the youngest of 3 children. And my dad worked very hard to get where he was in South Africa when we immigrated here. And I always thought, when he dies, his legacy dies. And I remember still talking to him, but this can't happen, Dad.
Yeah.
Someone needs to take over. And my brother and my sister had other things that they were interested in.
Yeah.
So when my dad passed away and I took over his business, I remember I changed the whole branding of the business and I made it a legacy workshop.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make him proud.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You don't just let something fall or let it die overnight just because a person passes
100%.
away.
I love that. And talking about not letting things fall and die. Now, Feroz, how does the RMI board ensure that it fosters an inclusive and equitable industry which breeds future leaders? Because we don't want what you and John and everybody else, especially the ladies at RMI, to fall flat once you guys move out of the space. We want it to not die. We want the legacy that you've put across, like Andrea said, to continue.
Yeah. So there are multiple prongs, and one of which is this initiative here. The RMI board supports the RMI Driving Change, Women Driving Change initiative. And from that to create awareness. But when you arrive at the board, it means that you've been democratically elected in your association or in your region. So really we need to be deliberate in attracting women at that level. And Nani will talk to some of the initiatives that we want to do and so on. But I think that we also all need to stand up and say, I want to serve.
Yes.
I want to serve. The value that I'm going to get out of it is growth, connections, networking, and so on. But I think that if we just sit back and wait for everything to happen, we're actually not going to be able to influence in the direction of any organization.
Yeah.
So we need that. So the RMI board is very committed to ensure that women come up through the ranks, but it does need to stop with this association and the regions, and we have to be deliberate about it.
Because, I mean, if you don't put your hand up, no one is going to know that you actually want to serve. So the important thing is to put your hand up and say, I'm here, I'm capable, and I'm able, and I want to contribute. That's beautiful. Sandra, what do you believe are some of the biggest challenges, though? Because, I mean, you may put your hand up, you may want to serve, but it's still a male-dominated industry. So what are some of the big challenges that the women in the industries, this particular industry, face?
You know, I think one of the biggest challenges, and I think women do this often enough, we try to measure up against a man. We are different. We'll always be different. And I think that's so important, and we need to stand out and be different. And I think this often enough, you know, we talk about coaching, we talk about mentoring, and we often look at a man as being our coach and our mentor. And I just do believe that as women, the only time you turn behind is to lift another woman. So that's the philosophy of a woman should be. And I actually don't think of it as a challenge, because when you walk into a boardroom, you must look different and you must feel different. You must feel like a woman, and you must never be a man, because you are different. And I think that is a success. So, you know, we stand there, we want to be like a man, we want to act like a man, we want to talk like a man, we want to go play golf like a man, and it's not. We are different.
Yes.
We come with such diversity into the workplace. We are mothers, we are sisters, we are nurturers. And when we've got families at home, and we come with a whole lot of challenges in our hands. When we walk through that door, and I'm talking from a corporate environment, we leave all those challenges at home.
Yeah.
And that in itself, I think any organization should appreciate a woman for that.
100%. Now, Teresa, I've asked her about the spirit of excellence. How do you foster that spirit of excellence in yourself on a daily basis? Because, I mean, you can't be having a spirit of excellence one day in a year. It's an ongoing process. It's something that becomes part of who you are. How do you maintain that for yourself?
I think the thing that all the ladies sitting up here and Johnny have in common is we're women of fire. We come with fire in our blood. And I think we all, if we see an injustice, we want to change it. We want to fix it. We want to make it better for the industry as a whole. And I love the little story of the little boy walking along the beach, picking up starfish. And the guy behind him says, there's too many of them to make a difference. And he says, well, I made a difference for that one, and I made a difference for that one. And if we just take the challenges one day at a time, we take our obstacles one day at a time and make a difference, whether it be in the training, the OHS, whatever struggles we see in our industry and we want to correct. So just as mothers, we want to protect our kids and that type of thing. It's the same thing. We want to protect our industry and our integrity of our industry. Just make our changes one challenge at a time.
Yeah, I love that. Andrea, how many years have you been participating in RMI structures?
It's been 8 years now.
8 years. And over those 8 years, I'm sure there's a few things that stand out. What has been the one thing that stands out the most that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I shared a story next door this morning. I remember when it was the year when my dad passed away, 2015. That is when I joined RMI. And I sat with this business. All of a sudden, I'm a woman owner. I'm not a mechanic. What the hell do I do?
Yeah.
I can close down because that's the easy thing to do, or I can carry on. And I remember I went to my first meeting, MIVA RMI meeting, and I saw Jan and Jackie there, and they inspired me very much. And quickly I introduced myself, and quickly they took me within their arms, and quickly I became a committee member, and thereafter a chair lady. But I remember those first few meetings, every time when I drove home, I got goosebumps and I jumped for joy, because I got the opportunity to be in between great people where I can learn from, I can copy and paste, they can guide me. Yeah. And I feel every time when I drove home, I was so grateful. I think the feeling of gratefulness that there's hope, and that I can do this with people around me that's got my success in mind as well. I think that was for me the biggest game changer from everything.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, they are listening at home, they are here in this room right now. Andrea, what advice, tips do you have for women who want to succeed in this industry?
Well, I've got two driving forces. That is consistency and persistency. And you must never deviate from that. Always be congruent with what you believe in, and always got your goals in sight.
Yes.
And most of all, be patient with yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. Do you, and let others do them. Because you must always trust and have faith in you, because what you've got is what the others need.
Yeah.
So trust in that.
I love that. That's beautiful. And Sandra, we're here not only just to celebrate what the women in the industry have done and they continue to do on a daily basis, but we're also here because we need to make changes. We need to make sure that the future for young girls that want to join this particular industry continues. But we need to tell them certain things to make those critical changes so that it can be smooth sailing, because we can't be fighting the same fight Feroz was fighting when she started. When they come through, they need to have a smoother ride than what she did, right? You agree with that? So what are some of the most critical change that we must make to make sure that the future is effectively more smoother for the girls that come behind?
I think to enter into this industry, first of all, you need to believe in yourself. And I think that you believe in yourself means you can achieve anything. So the first thing, as Ayanda said, is you believe. And when you believe, you move. The other thing that is very, very important is that when you actually nurture someone or you mentor someone, you don't just transfer your skills, you leave something with that individual behind. 100%. So my principle is that if I mentor you, you need to mentor someone else. So you follow that principle, and for me that's important. Legislation dictates a lot of things, and as women we are very emotional about legislation. So we focus on sexual harassment, discrimination, diversity, inclusion, and we spend our lives basically trying to make sure that this legislation works for us in the workplace. It never works, because it only works if you make it work. So put the legislation aside and think of yourself as a human being. And think of what your rights are as a human being. And make sure you get those rights. Because if you get those rights, like for instance, the International Labour Organization is very clear, women are paid 20% less than men. That is a fact. Yep. It's not disputed. So we as women need to ensure that we get our rights in the workplace. And to focus on legislation is just something that we can use in the event that we end up in a dispute. But the right thing to do is to make sure that you recognize as an individual, as a contributor to the bottom line. That is critical.
Okay. You know, I like the fact that you say that when you mentor someone, you need to make sure that they mentor someone else, which it basically is the philosophy of paying it forward. So I'm going to come to you, Teresa, and ask what the term pay it forward to you individually means.
Okay, I agree with your interpretation of it, but I also believe that if you're going to pay something forward, it's not something that you advertise on social media or declare to anyone. You do it quietly and privately. But I also believe what you give out into the world, I believe in karma. What you give out selflessly and without the right reasons and the right, will come back at you twofold.
Yes.
So with me joining the RMI and all the things I do on the RMI, I have grown as a person. So I have received much more back than what the RMI has taken from me.
First, I'm going to finish off with you, and I'm going to ask for you, as a long-standing member of RMI, a long-standing member of a woman in business, what your message is to women who are joining us today, both online, face-to-face, and especially those that would like to actually be involved in RMI structures.
Okay, so there are a few things, and I think one of the things, the reason we are all here today is because we're standing on the shoulders of those people back at the ranch, actually ensuring that things happen. So we also, am I still audible? So we also need to ensure that we are very inclusive in our actions, and that we provide the right enabling environment for people that they can feel. I mean, I've been inspired today. So that opportunity needs to be given to everybody. But I think that once you are inspired, you also have to act.
Yes.
And so if there's a call to action from ourselves or from Nani today, we need to step forward. But the other thing, I agreed completely with Sandra, that everybody always needs to be involved in uplifting and mentoring somebody else. So all I can say is finish up by saying anything is possible. You know the masters that you talked about? I was the oldest person in the class. I enrolled when I was 58 because it was a dream.
Wow.
And so, listening to Claire, and she says that she's still got so much racing life left in her. I think it's inspiration to us to actually continue. We can't be wallflowers. We've got to actually be right in the center of the action. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. Ladies, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that, you know, with Claire, with John talking about when she started riding motorcycles, going to do her master's, it's never too late. It's never too late. I speak to people that want to start something all the time, and then the person would be like, yeah, but I'm 45. I don't think I'll have time. Look at this. You start late, but then you leave a legacy. You start late and you inspire 3 or 4 people. So maybe your starting late wasn't about you succeeding and being the best in that thing. Maybe your starting late was for someone who also wants to start, who was fearful, to know that the possibility of starting is there. So sometimes that actually is the crux of the matter. It's not about you. It's about what people see you do, because my thing is seeing someone do something you dreamt of and they are actually doing it gives you such an amount of energy and inspiration that it is possible. So there's no latecomers here. As long as you come to the table, that's the important thing. Anyways, we're going to close now. Nonisha Balala is going to step on stage. She is part of the people that make it possible for us to be here. And I love the fact that they make it possible for us to be here. So, Nonisha Balala, please come on stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. What an honor and a privilege it is to be here. Feroz and Jani would agree that this actually started as an idea 3 years ago, and here we are. It's truly amazing. I have to just share just a little bit of something that Jani did this morning that speaks to mentorship. As I was standing outside doing the registrations, Jani looked at me and said, "Stop being so nervous." And I was like to her, "Okay, so how did you pick that up?" She says, "Because I can see right through you. Please come down, please." And I said to her, "But my problem is I've been overthinking it." And she said, "You'll do just fine. So when you get up there, just be in a zone." And she gave me some pointers. So I don't do this quite often. It's fairly new to me, but I appreciate that, Johnny, and it really helped a lot. So we've all been talking about mentorship, and we've all been talking about inspiration. We've all been talking about empowerment. I just want to take you through this whole idea, or this whole concept, or this whole initiative of the Women Driving Change Network. How this came about was that in 2021, you've heard Angie speaking that when we started, it was during COVID. So our very first event was done through COVID. And the whole idea behind it was that we want to celebrate women. We want to inspire them. People have been through a lot, and we just want them to just have coffee while we speak to them, and they must just offload, because we know that they're already going through challenges within their businesses. And this is how this was born. So in 2021, that's where we started, and it was purely virtual. And then in 2022, we then decided we'd actually want to interact with the people that join us online and see their faces, either than just knowing that they're joining us elsewhere. And then we said last year, okay, let us have a hybrid event whereby some of our attendees will be with us face-to-face and others will be joining us virtually. So last year we hosted it at Melrose Arch. The attendance was quite good. And from there, then this is where the RMI, Women Driving Change Network, was actually born. Where do I move? Okay, so as I've said, this is our story, 2021, 2022, and everything that happened. So we'd find that whenever we'd have events, and we go through the feedback that we would receive. And last year, because it was more interactive, some of the attendees then went directly to our president and said to her they would like to have a mentorship program, because they're facing quite a lot of challenges in the industry, and they sometimes want to speak to somebody and get through their ideas and actually have like a forum where they know that they can actually belong. And then, so based on that, the intention of this network, as I've said, when I started, is to celebrate, educate, mentor women, while we attract young females in business to participate and get involved in RMI structures. We heard today the keyword I think that was spoken about mostly was to serve. We've heard from our panelists, all the panelists that we had today are serving within RMI various structures. We said that the theme for this year would be celebrating the spirit of excellence in RMI women. And that is our keyword, to say that, please, you are already an RMI member, you are already benefiting from the RMI, but please serve within the structures, because we know that and we feel that you are available and you can contribute to the growth and the participation of women within the RMI. What is our intent in terms of starting this women's network? So as I've said, the RMI has noted the challenges that women face in the industry, and that there is hunger from younger women to learn about the industry through mentorship and engagements. The RMI has also noticed that it is proud about the value which has been added by hosting the Women Driving Change 2 years in a row, which I have alluded to in the beginning. Having the Women's Network form part of the Women Drive Change special project will provide RMI women with tangible advice, assistance, and a sense of belonging to the RMI. Therefore, living to our ethos of saying that belonging is better business. The initiative seeks to create a feeling of cohesion amongst our female members. The RMI aims to promote female leadership by creating an inclusive culture where women hold leadership positions with integrity and worth. And that has been another keyword today. Integrity, we've heard Ayanda speaking about it, we heard Johnny speaking about it, so that is very, very important. The women that form part of the leadership should hold those positions with integrity and true worth. So who can join the network? Every woman sitting in this room can join the network. So we welcome you all to join us. This is an RMI initiative. It is starting now, and we want to move forward with you. You've been with us since the beginning, and we definitely believe that we can move forward together. What do we want to achieve? We want to celebrate women in our industry, which is what we are doing today, I believe. We want to attract young females to engage in RMI structures that speaks to serving. We want to create an industry-focused supportive network of women, opening doors and providing connections. You can just imagine the wealth of knowledge that is in this room and the connections that can be built through that within all of us as women, sharing ideas and being there for each other. And then we want to create a cohesive platform where women feel comfortable to belong and share. We want to create forums of engagements through social media and events, virtual and physical. So there will be constant participation and engagement. So how? This is our first. How do we even start with this? This is exactly where we start. As you have seen, or as you have heard, it started in 2021. But we are heeding that call for action. We are saying we are doing it, and we are doing it now. So we want to create a database that will be formed by all the attendees joining us today. Give us your names. Give us your names. Let us put you into this network so that you can serve. We will have a content of activities that will have a library within our transformation website. So this speaks to historic information. These activities that I'm going to go into now will not just be a once-off, but whenever you want some wealth of information, you will be able to visit our transformation website, and you will be able to go through whatever information was shared or was spoken about at a certain time. So these are the activities. As I've spoken earlier, engagements and communication through WhatsApp. We will form a WhatsApp group, education on various topics, and these would be topics that would actually benefit you from your businesses. We've got a few ideas between Feroz and I of the actual educational topics that we would want to discuss underneath there. And then we will have a series of webinars, quarterly webinars, whereby we would have just not a stringent or a rigid webinar whereby it's all about following process, whereby we can just relax and have conversations over coffee and speak about our challenges, inspire each other, and also celebrate each other. And one of the things that we want to do in the future is to perhaps have a recognition program whereby, as you can see with other networks, they do have the Women of the Year and so on and so forth. So that is something that we would also want to do in the future. So I'm inviting everybody to engage and become involved as we launch and grow this Women Network. This Women Network is not only for the RMI, but it's for us all who serve within the RMI. It's for us all who are staff members of the RMI. It's for us all who have any affiliation with the RMI to say that we invite you to provide your ideas, your aspirations, your needs and goals, so that you can help shape this network. And we can incorporate this within our activities. As you can know, as I've said, and as you can see, that this is a very young network. So your aspirations, your goals would be the vehicle that lead us to actually understand what activities you would want to see underneath the network. But most importantly, I would also like to call on the experienced people and leaders within the retail motor industry, like yourself, John, like yourself, Feroz, like yourself, Sandra, like yourself, Teresa, and Andrea, to say that we need you. We need you to mentor us. We need you to mentor women that are starting off within the RMI or within their businesses. I'll share another story. Yesterday, as I was sitting at the RMI stand, a very young woman came to me and she said, "Oh, you're the RMI?" And I said, "Yes, we are the RMI. How can we help you?" And she said, "Sure, can you sit down with me?" And I said to her, "Okay, well, let's go sit on the couch." And probably everybody was wondering, okay, you've been sitting with this woman for over an hour on a couch. What are you guys talking about? She was telling me all the challenges that she's been going through in her business. She's very young, African, I think she's 22. And she's been going through the worst. And she says that, "I'm at a point whereby I've lost all hope and I just want to give up." And I said to her, "You can join us tomorrow. There'll be very inspirational, powerful women, and if we can't really give you anything to hold with your hand, I believe that we can give you information, because there'll be wealth of information, and I think you will actually get some hope by joining us tomorrow." So she is joining us. Unfortunately, she can't join us today. She can't join us live, but she is joining us virtually, and I hope that with all the stories that have been shared today, we were able to build some hope for her. So with that being said, this is where I'm going to stop for now, and then maybe take any comments, any questions pertaining to our Women Driving Change Network. Thank you.
Where do we sign up?
That's exactly what we want to hear. So, yes, you can sign up with me, Lihle. All my details are on there. I'm not sure why it skipped that slide, but I'll be able to share. It did? Oh, it was. Okay, so I hope you took my email address. Please send me your details, and we will be very happy to sign you up. Great. Yes?
I have a comment, and the comment really is that there are many more women, besides the one that you've mentioned, that are able to mentor other women. And we, as the RMI, as part of the Transformation Project, we will provide a webinar to train these senior women on how to do a structured mentoring process over a 6-month period. So we actually appealing to all those other women too who have experience in anything to also sign up for that. Yeah. And then we can matchmake them with the younger women that apply for the mentorship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Nonin. I think this is great mentoring. I think the one thing, just as a learning from Women in Autos, when we started the journey with mentoring, it is always, once everybody has signed up, a good idea to do like a quick survey, people, just to give you an idea on what topics they want to hear, what networking opportunities they are looking for. And also I hear people saying, don't give us golf opportunities. I joined playing golf because the automotive industry, if you don't play golf, you're a reject. But also it's because, you know, it is a networking platform. So for those who want to do it, I think let it not be something that you take off the table. And by the way, women play better golf than men. And then lastly also, G, my colleague, was also in there. She's from West Bank. It did not make sense for me to mentor my colleague from West Bank. So always ensure when you pair the mentor and mentee that it's not from the same organization, because we also create that safe space when someone can also talk about what challenges they're experiencing in their organization, because you encourage that confidential space and you're able to grow the person individually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Noni. Mostly of all, I just want to say thank you for everyone being here today and your contribution. There's lots of people in this room that I have always aspired to, especially Johnny. I mean, you're my superhero. I've always aspired to be like you, but someday I will. And have the confidence and the knowledge and everything that's within your heart. I really hope that I can share it and build people like you have built people. So thank you everyone for your contribution. It's really been great being here today.
Hi, Noni. Just to comment about the young lady that you spoke to yesterday. I, for one, was very inspired by this event, but I also want to say that what you're trying to do with the network, it's very much needed and it's very much welcome. Thank you very much. I will definitely be participating.
Thank you. One more.
Good day, everybody. I'm from KZN, and I'm actually very proud to be here today. Because sitting here is somebody's mom, somebody's granny, somebody's sister, somebody's wife. And you know what? You guys must remember one very, very old, famous, and good saying. Behind every successful man is a successful
woman.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much. By the way, my name is Minister. I like to acknowledge the words that have been said by the panel, and I quote, "What you got, it's what others need." We've got the connections, we've got the network, we've got everything. Others don't have that. Others need this opportunity to sit here. Let's engage after this meeting. Let's all exchange with contact. Let's all make sure that it doesn't end here. Thank you.
I think we're good. Yeah. Phew, so thank you, everybody. So we've come to the end of our program. I feel very inspired and very empowered. And I've been having goosebumps when I was sitting on there. Jessica even saw me shedding a tear because what is this, really? What is this, really, really, really? I speak from the bottom of my heart. Yaki, we're gonna miss you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for creating space for women to be empowered. I'm a result of all your hard work. I say that with pride. I say that confidently. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Somebody said, I think it was Ayanda, John said to her, I have been seeing potential in you, but I'm waiting for you to see it on yourself. I'm waiting for that time to come for myself. Because yourself, Jan, and Renee have been amazing. And I think it would be an injustice to end off this particular program without giving Renee her flowers. Can you please stand up, Renee? Can you please join me on stage? I know, but I have to do it. So you might have seen in August, we had a series of celebrating women. It was within the RMI and within the RMI employees as well as within the RMI structures. And if you would have seen or if you would have taken your time to read those articles, then you would have realized that Renee's name kept coming up. This woman has ensured that transformation takes place within the RMI. I will tell you about my story. I know that there's a lot of our other staff members who are watching us online that can fully attest to this. Renee has ensured that women of color grow in bounds within the RMI. Renee is the type of woman that actually made me start studying. She would call me within her office on a Monday morning and she would ask me, Noni, what are you doing about your studies? Jessica and I would, and the rest would be on, but why is Renee so bothered about us studying? And she would tell us that without your qualifications, unfortunately, you won't be able to go further. But over and above that, through the efforts of the RMI and through the support of Yaki and Jan and the RMI Internal Training Committee and the board, they made sure that we not only get financial support, because they ensured that our degrees are paid for from the time that you start until the end. But not only that, you would constantly get support. You would constantly have somebody to call on whenever it got difficult. So if that is not true and meaningful transformation, I don't know where that is. You look at the RMI's organogram at the moment, and you can see the names that actually appear on senior management and middle management. Renee has been actively steering that. Renee has been actively advocating for that, fighting for that. Thank you so much. If I don't ever get the opportunity to say this, thank you for that. Thank you. Thanks. Okay.
So, yes, thank you very much. This is a huge surprise, as you can see. It has been my greatest honor to mentor and grow women, especially women who've been disadvantaged. And I really think it's my calling, and I've loved doing it. So I really want to say to everybody, the potential is in each and every one of us. You just got to find it and then grow it. Don't leave it. It's not going to grow itself. You've got to water it, you've got to nurture it, and you've got to make it grow. And I'm so grateful to all of the ladies who've taken what I've given them and then taken it further. So thank you.
And just to share a little bit of a story about Renee, how motherly and how nurturing she is. As I was sitting there, before my name was called, she sent me a WhatsApp, and because she knows me so well. She sent me a WhatsApp and she said, "Please don't speak too fast." Thank you, Renee. Yeah, so with that being said, as I was extending my gratitude, I would like to thank the RMI leadership, the RMI board, for the role and support they provide in ensuring that this event actually takes place each year. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate it. Thank you to the RMI President, Vice President, CEO, COO, RMI Exco, and the Transformation Committee for being true pioneers of change by embracing inclusivity and equality. Thank you to our audience, both face-to-face and virtually. Thank you for taking your time to join us. I hope we have added value to you. A very special thank you to Danelle for always going beyond her call of duty. You are amazing. Your dedication is truly unmatched. Thank you to our esteemed panelists who've traveled very far and wide, Teresa, Sandra, Feroz, Andrea. And thank you to the speakers who've actually given me goosebumps throughout the whole program. Your contribution is truly meaningful to us and very valuable. So lastly, I would just like to leave with these words by Serena Williams. The success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noni. And thank you so much to the motherly figure that has carried through so many young, inspired. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've done. You've created someone who can stand on stage and inspire people because you took it upon yourself. Probably wasn't your job, but you took it upon yourself. And that is exactly what mentorship is about. That is what mentorship is about. Taking something that you are not getting paid for because you want to see the next generation, the next person shine probably brighter. And if you're a great mentor, you want them to shine brighter than you did. And what Noni said is very true. There is a wealth of knowledge in this room. So if you are a person in this industry and you walk away without a single cell phone number, nyana, email, nyana, so that you can get yourself a mentor, then maybe you're not too serious. Because these rooms like this come very rarely. You know, when you are in a certain industry and you have people that have been trendsetters and leaders in that industry sitting in the same room as you, and you only just get a selfie, that's it, then you're not serious. So I would advise everybody that's here to make sure that you utilize the space. You utilize the RMI's initiative of having a women's mentorship program. Use it. Because some people will never get too far because they didn't have the right mentor. A right mentor could be the key to how successful you can be. Look at Ayanda. Without John, would she be in this room as successful as she is? Probably not. Or maybe she would have in other ways. But that key was John. So utilize the space, utilize the mentorship program that Abononi have so kindly put together. I always come here as a worker because that's my job. I'm here to MC. But I walk away richer than the invoice I'm going to send to Feroz, because I'm richer in here. I'm richer in here. My spirit is higher. I probably walk away with my back up because I was in the same table as Jean, because Feroz gave me a hug and she said something that sparked something in me. So thank you yet again for this beautiful event. Don't stop with it. Even if there's 3 people in the room, it's important. It's vitally important that you continue as the RMI to create this space. Inspire us. I'm not in the motor industry, but I walk away inspired every single time. I'm a radio talk head. I farm. That's what I do. But what I get here is so powerful for me individually. Yaki. Man. A round of applause for Yaki, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for giving me the space to be here with you today. I'm very inspired. I'm very grateful that this space exists. We have lunch being served now. So please sit around, get those numbers, get those, not just a selfie, get an email address, align yourself with the right motivator and mentor while you have lunch. They say breaking bread is the easiest way to get to know a person. So let's break bread, let's get to know each other, and hopefully we see each other again next year.